want to welcome everybody to Total Havoc. My name is Katim A. Smith, owner of Public Enemy and analyst for our league. I'm here with this Minister of Fresh, Tim Finch, also heading up the league. What we're going to do over the next couple of days is preview the league by division. We'll give our opinions and rankings on each division so we can kind of just get a feel for how everything is going to lay out this year. So starting first, we are going to open with the Soldiers of Aries, division of 4 teams. So let's get it started. My picks for this year are going to be Public Enemy at number 1, Quantum Saint coming at number 2, number 1 Beaner coming at number 3, and Taco Bell Fire Sauce coming at number 4. Tim, what's your opinion?
Coming in at number 1, I got Public Enemy as well. Quantum Saint at number 2. I got team number 1 Beaner, don't know what that stands for, at number 3. And Taco Bell Fire Sauce again coming in at number 4.
Ooh, nice breakdown. So what are some of the reasons behind your rankings?
Well, I went with Public Enemy at number 1 just because I have a scoring system that I like to use that's served me well, where I like to see each team with 2 solid quarterbacks. And Public Enemy came in with Eli Manning and Tony Romo, and those are by far the best 2 quarterbacks on any team in this division. LeGarrette Blount's a good, number 2 back. I still think they need a solid number 1. The only questions I have is John Beeson still on the, still starting, and he looks to be out for week 1. And Matthew Stafford is a good 3rd-string quarterback, which I like to see on a team, especially when a team needs pieces. They can use Stafford as trade bait, or you can hold on to Stafford, for purposes in the future like bye weeks or injuries.
For sure. I definitely agree with the Tony Romo, Eli Manning reference. Both of those are 2 top quarterbacks this year, and definitely are going to help his team out. I do feel like Public Enemy's main weaknesses at the running back position. Only having LeGarrette Blount is really going to, it could possibly hurt them down the road. So I feel like by making changes there, maybe even trading up for a top 20 back, it might give Public Enemy a stronger chance to take this division. All in all, though, I do feel like Public Enemy is the consensus number 1 in the Soldiers of Aries. Coming in at number 2, unanimous, we both picked Quantum Saint, a newbie to the league. It's been said that he has about 7 years of fantasy experience. But this is his first year in Havoc. How do you feel that it being his first year in Havoc, how do you feel he'll adjust to that?
I think a lot of veteran fantasy players have an adjustment period in Havoc. They're not used to the large roster size, the large ownership pool, and like having to scavenge for free agents throughout each week. A lot of the problems I see, their reserves pool on Quantum Saint is kind of low. They were solid with getting starters in there, but definitely the bench needs a lot of strength, and you see that with new owners in the league. I really do like Drew Brees. I think he's a solid number 1. Chad Henne as a number 2 quarterback's a little iffy. I don't even think he's going to make it through the season. But Miles Austin and Santonio Holmes is solid at wide receiver. It still needs a lot of work at running back, and again, the bench needs a lot of work as well.
Cool. Definitely, as players to watch for me, I definitely agree with Drew Brees. Any team in this league would want Drew Brees as a starting quarterback. With return of Tony Romo, I think you'll see Miles Austin's productivity rise, so that's going to help him out in the long run as well. I do have to say, though, for being new to the league, he really went out and drafted a great defense. I think 4 out of his 5 defensive positions are all number 1 players, which doesn't guarantee point production, but it pretty much showing that you have number 1s, you're going to get points from those guys.
Understanding of defense.
Definitely, and I think a lot of new people to the league, a lot of people in general have kind of forgot to focus on defense this year, whereas Quantum Saint was able to nip 4 number 1 players and 5 top 10 defensive players in the starting lineup. So I definitely feel like he's going to push Public Enemy for that number 1 spot. So we'll see how it turns out. He's a new guy, so we don't really have much information on this guy. But besides a terrible name, I think this guy has a solid team going into this season. Coming in at number 3, number 4, they're pretty much interchangeable. We have team number 1 Beaner. He is the owner that recently traded Ben Roethlisberger for Maurice Jones-Drew, making his team worse. Go ahead and give me your take on number one Beaner.
Well, first, number one Beaner, trading Big Ben, especially when you're trading Big Ben for MJD makes no sense to me. MJD's injury prone, not that Ben Roethlisberger is much healthier, but when you take your starting quarterbacks from a Big Ben to a McNabb, which is somewhat solid, to a McNabb Tavares Jackson, that's tragedy. So there's absolutely no depth at quarterback. But he does show a willingness to make the trades.
Yeah.
The only problem is he's not intelligent enough to make intelligent trades. He's pretty strong at wide receiver, which is pretty good with Larry Fitzgerald and Brandon Lloyd. But I mean, that's about all I see from this team. I don't see any depth at all. Mm-hmm. If anything happens to McNabb, you're really relying on Tavares Jackson, who hasn't even shown the capability to complete passes, preseason.
Definitely.
So I don't expect too much from him.
Yeah, me neither. I think he went from being one of the top contenders in the league overall down to the bottom. I mean, you saw the reflection in our preseason poll. He dropped after making that trade. I guess the season we'll find out what this trade actually will do for him. But as of right now, he's a solid number 3 in Soldier of Varys. Rounding out the division is Taco Bell Fire Sauce. In my opinion, he has good players on his team. He just hasn't, as an owner, shown me or the rest of the league his ability or willingness to participate. Right now, I feel like he may even be on the chopping block. Maybe touched his team twice last year. Could have been a contender for a championship last year if he would have just had made some moves to bring his team together. And I'm expecting pretty much the same thing going into the season. Tim, what do you have to say about Fire Sauce?
Well, talk about Fire Sauce, one of the worst names in the league by far. Last year, this is a history pick putting them this low for me. Last year, they had Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, but failed to win more than 2 games. This year, he kept Tom Brady, picked up Frank Gore, injury-prone running back himself. But the problem here is the owner. Taco Bell Fire Sauce, Leo, whatever your name is, I don't know if the owner switched behind the back, so we're not sure if it's Leo's cousin. But Leo is pretty much the Al Davis, a.k.a. Donald Sterling of Havoc League. There's not much else to say. I mean, there's no bench on this team, so it looks like he hasn't even touched his team since draft day.
Yeah.
But Al Davis saying that's enough said right there.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. Those are our rankings for Soldiers of Varys. So please go ahead and chime in. Let us know what you guys think and feel about these rankings. If you don't agree with them, let us know what your rankings are going to be. Our next featured team is going to be, our next featured division is going to be Soldiers of, what's the top division? What's your division? Hades. There you go, my bad. Soldiers of Hades. We'll be previewing them tomorrow. So tune in.